if you think about attention, there's something that drew my interest to this concept, because if you think, for example, about our perception, usually philosophy deals most predominantly with the perception of vision. I have a kind of visual field. Now, of course, I'm talking to a camera and you're probably looking at the screen, but still, I mean, there's lots of information in my visual field. And my focus is not on the whole visual field. My focus moves within this sort of world of perception that my eyes present to me. So there's an infinite amount of information brought to me by vision. And there's something within my mind that makes me able to focus on certain aspects or certain objects within this visual field rather than others. So there's some kind of dynamics between what I acknowledge in my vision and what I don't acknowledge. But even the stuff that kind of I'm not attentive to at the moment, for example, perhaps a carpet on the floor or some cable running at the corner of my eye, I mean, that's still present for me in my consciousness somehow. So my focus, the focus of my consciousness moves in this infinite or huge amount of information that my visual perception brings to me. And then the question for philosophers for a long time was that how is my attention guided within this world of perception that my senses present to me? One of the first ones to ask this question philosophically was William James, who was also the father of a certain branch of American psychology. This was end of 19th century when psychology started to develop into a discipline, academic discipline, a proper scientific discipline. And he asked the questions that millions of items of the outward order are present to my senses, which never properly enter into my experience. Why? And his answer to this question was that because they have no interest for me. So William James kind of is puzzled by this fact that there's an infinite amount of information that's brought to me by my senses, and he tries to answer how is this dynamics, how does this dynamic work? Why do we pick out certain things, whereas other aspects and other things in our perception are obscured? And this is kind of the starting point for the philosophy of attention. And maybe one of the main questions, if we reduce the amount of questions to one, is that is attention volitional, or is it driven by some kind of more mechanic, automatic behavior rather than intentional action? So do I choose what I attend to and what I don't attend to? And of course this is complicated. In one sense I don't. I mean, the things I'm not aware of in my visual field at the moment, I didn't choose to push them out or something like this. They're just not there for me right now, whereas other aspects of my visual field are. So this could be kind of the basis, the basic questions for philosophy of attention, which is a part of philosophy of perception, which is a part of philosophy of mind. So all of these questions are kind of pieces of the puzzle how our consciousness works. So I started to write this book not from kind of the philosophical discussion on attention, but I had some experiences that were puzzling. I had worked on the philosophy of perception before and started to find it a bit boring. But then there were some kind of experiences that opened up these questions that at first perhaps I didn't think about them as questions about attention or even philosophical questions at all. But I would call them some form of existential questions. So there was some aspects of certain experiences I had that I found puzzling and wondrous and exciting, maybe scary at sometimes. unexplainable. There was something unexplainable that I found that my consciousness was capable of doing, or my perception was capable of doing. And I'll talk about one of these experiences. And the experience I had was that I lived next to a park. I walked in this park almost every day, sometimes just to get somewhere, sometimes just strolling in the park. But once I got a dog, of course I continued to walk in the park, but the park itself started to present itself to me in a different way than before I had the dog. So it was something about me walking with the dog that brought some aspects of this park. They became more present for me because of the presence of my dog. So one typical example was that I walked along the path and thought about unanswered emails or about what to shop for dinner or something like this, and my dog started to pull in certain directions. And she pulled me towards a tree trunk and started to try to climb this tree and barked at a squirrel that apparently was sitting on a branch in the treetop. And this happened also with other animals, with like foxes or hedgehogs or squirrels, birds. So through my dog I started to discover that this park was inhabited by animals that I didn't see by myself. I couldn't detect them because my senses are not designed to detect squirrels or foxes in the same way that my dog's senses are designed to kind of detect animal life. So there was something about my dog's experiential life that was communicated to me, even though my dog can't speak human language. Just through her behavior or through her embodied actions, she got me to attend to certain aspects and things in the park that I hadn't seen before. Of course, I had seen foxes and squirrels before, but not in this park. So the whole sort of my understanding of this environment grew larger through the help of my dog's attention. My dog attended to the squirrel. She pulled me and guided my attention to attend to the squirrel that was present there for her. And this I found puzzling and exciting, that kind of the life world of my dog expanded my understanding of the world through her guiding my attention to things that I couldn't detect by myself. And this was a starting point for one of the chapters in the book. So I realized that in philosophy, the theory of sharing attention, two persons standing together and seeing the same thing in the same way, the discussion is technically called joint attention. Much of the literature there was based on the idea that we have to have some kind of sameness. People whose life world are similar to mine, humans that can speak, people who I share a culture with, so forth and so forth. With these beings I can share attention. Only with these beings that are somehow similar to me, we can guide each other in attending to the world in the same way. By speaking to each other, pointing to each other, understanding the intentions of the other and so forth. But in my example, it was the opposite. It was exactly because my dog is different from me that she could reveal things about the world that I couldn't see myself. Her perceptual apparatus is completely different. Her sense of smell is much more strong than mine. For example, I think she detects animal life through smell, not through vision, because dog's vision is not good. So her kind of structure of her consciousness is different from mine. But due to this difference, she could reveal things for me that I couldn't detect myself, and through this kind of guidance of the other in shared attention, my understanding of the world grew larger, got more nuanced. I discovered things through her. And then through these kind of experiences, I start to develop philosophical points. I start to try to explain how consciousness works, how perception works, how attention works. And I come up with perhaps different theory from what I read in the literature of philosophy of mind that makes theories on attention. For example, William James that I quoted says that the reason for why my attention picks out certain things and leaves other unnoticed is that I have an interest. For example, I'm hungry, so I see things that are food in my environment. Of course, our attention works in this way also, that I bring kind of my intentions into my perception, and through these intentions, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, blah, blah, blah. I start to see the environment in a certain way. But my example points at a different aspect of attention. There's something foreign that's brought into me. I didn't expect to see a squirrel. I was not looking for a squirrel. I was thinking about my everyday life, about work, about ordinary stuff. And then my dog kind of pulls me out of this, my own world, and brings me into her world. So it cannot be my interest that drove my attention to the squirrel. It was something external to me. And this I found philosophically interesting, and from there on I kind of start to find a thread how to write about this, and end up with maybe perhaps not a theory, but certain ideas that stand in contrast to other ideas that philosophers have on attention. And also it brings in this possibility that we can communicate not only with people who are like us, not only with human beings who we share a language with, also with non-human beings that are constituted quite differently from us. And it opens the question of how far can we push this? Where is the limit? What kind of beings can we understand, and what kind of beings can help us understand the world? And I wouldn't draw a line very sharply here. I think this is a question of how we try to share a world with different beings, and we try it out and see what happens. And maybe somebody or something that's very different from you can expand your understanding of the world through helping you to attend to things that you couldn't attend to by yourself.